The text message glowed on his screen at 2:17 a.m. "I can't do this anymore, Mark. I'm sorry." 5 words that would shatter a single father's world and set in motion a chain of events no one could have predicted. If you've ever felt the ground disappear beneath your feet, you'll understand why Mark Reynolds couldn't breathe as he read those words from the woman he thought would finally heal his broken family. Before we continue this journey together, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories that remind us of the unexpected ways life can transform when we least expect it. Mark stared at his phone, the blue light illuminating his tired face in the darkness of his bedroom. 3 years of single parenthood had carved permanent worry lines around his eyes. His daughter Lily slept peacefully in the next room, blissfully unaware that the woman she had grown to love over the past 8 months, the woman who had promised to be there for both of them, was walking away. "What do you mean?" he typed back, his fingers trembling. "Emma, please talk to me." The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. Mark held his breath. "I'm not cut out for this. For being an instant mom. For the responsibility. I thought I could handle it, but I can't. I'm sorry." Mark's chest tightened. He'd heard these words before, from Lily's mother 4 years ago when she decided that motherhood and marriage weren't what she wanted after all. He'd been careful this time, so careful. He and Emma had taken things slowly. He'd waited months before introducing her to Lily. They'd talked extensively about what it meant to date a single parent. Emma had seemed so sure, so ready. He'd finally allowed himself to believe in second chances. "Can we talk about this in person?" he wrote. "Please don't do this over text. I'm sorry. I need some space. I'll call you in a few days." Mark set his phone down and pressed the heels of his hands against his eyes. The familiar weight of abandonment settled over him like a heavy blanket. He'd promised himself after his divorce that he would never let Lily experience that feeling again. Yet here they were. Morning came too quickly. Mark moved through their routine on autopilot, making Lily's favorite blueberry pancakes, helping the 7-year-old pick out her clothes, and braiding her hair the way Emma had taught him. "Is Emma coming over tonight?" Lily asked, swinging her legs at the breakfast table. "She promised to help me with my science project." Mark swallowed hard. "Not tonight, sweetheart. She had something come up." "Oh." Lily's face fell momentarily before brightening again. "That's okay. We can do it together, right, Dad?" "Absolutely," Mark said, forcing a smile. "Team Reynolds, remember? Team Reynolds forever." Lily held up her small hand for a high five. As he dropped Lily off at school, Mark wondered how many more disappointments his daughter would face because of his poor choices. Maybe he should stop trying. Maybe it was better for them to be on their own than to keep inviting people into their lives who would eventually leave. At work, Mark couldn't focus. He stared at his computer screen, the architectural designs he'd been working on for weeks now meaningless shapes and lines. His phone remained silent, no messages from Emma. By lunchtime, his colleague and friend, James, noticed something was wrong. "You look like hell," James said, dropping into the chair across from Mark's desk. "What's going on?" "Emma ended things. Last night. By text." James winced. "Damn. I'm sorry, man. I thought she was different." "So did I." Mark ran a hand through his hair. "I don't know how to tell Lily. She adores Emma." "Kids are resilient," James said, though his tone lacked conviction. "And you've been through worse." That was true. The day Lily's mother had packed her bags and announced she wasn't mother material had been the worst day of Mark's life. He'd been terrified of raising a 3-year-old alone while trying to keep his career afloat. But they'd survived. They'd even thrived in some ways, building a life that was uniquely theirs. "I'm just tired of starting over," Mark admitted. "Tired of being the only one who stays." 3 days passed with no word from Emma. Mark went through the motions of daily life, putting on a brave face for Lily while his heart ached. He told his daughter that Emma had to go away for a while, not ready to make the break permanent in Lily's mind until he was certain there was no hope. On the 4th day, as Mark was leaving work, his phone rang. Emma's name flashed on the screen. He answered immediately. "Can we meet?" Her voice sounded different, strained and uncertain. "Yes," he said, trying to keep the desperate hope out of his tone. "When? Tonight? At the park near your place? Around 7? Mark arranged for his neighbor, Mrs. Chen, to watch Lily. As he walked to the park, he rehearsed what he would say. He wouldn't beg. He wouldn't make promises he couldn't keep. He would simply listen and try to understand. Emma was already there, sitting on a bench overlooking the playground where he'd often brought Lily. She looked pale, her usually styled hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. When she saw him, she didn't smile. "Thank you for meeting me," she said as he sat beside her, leaving a careful distance between them. "Of course." Mark studied her face, trying to read her expression. "Are you okay?" Emma took a deep breath. "No. I'm not. I haven't been for a while, and I didn't know how to tell you." Mark braced himself for what was coming next. "I've been having panic attacks," she continued. "They started a few months ago. At first, I thought it was just stress from work, but then I realized they were happening most often when I was with you and Lily." Mark felt a stab of pain. "Being with us causes you anxiety?" "Not in the way you think," Emma said quickly. "It's not about you or Lily. It's about me. About my fear of failing you both." She turned to face him fully. "Mark, my mother left when I was 9. Just walked out one day. My dad raised me alone, and he was amazing, but I watched how hard it was for him. How much he sacrificed. I saw the women who came and went, who couldn't handle being with a man who put his child first." Mark hadn't known this about Emma. She rarely spoke about her childhood. "When I met you," she continued, "I was drawn to your strength, your devotion to Lily. But as we got closer, I started having these thoughts. What if I'm not good enough? What if I can't be what Lily needs? What if I end up hurting you both?" The pressure I put on myself became overwhelming. "Why didn't you tell me?" Mark asked softly. Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Because I was ashamed. Because I wanted to be the person you thought I was, someone strong and capable. That night I texted you, I'd had the worst panic attack yet. I convinced myself that you and Lily would be better off without me." Mark reached for her hand, and she didn't pull away. "Emma, nobody expects you to be perfect. Especially not me. I'm terrified of messing up every single day." "But you don't run away," she said. "That's the difference." "I can't," Mark said simply. "I'm Lily's dad. But that doesn't mean I don't understand the impulse to escape when things get hard." They sat in silence for a moment, the evening air cool around them. "I started seeing a therapist," Emma finally said. "The day after I texted you. I've had 2 sessions already. She thinks I have some unresolved trauma from my childhood that I need to work through." Mark felt a flicker of hope. "That's good. That's really good, Emma. I don't expect you to wait for me to figure this out," she said. "I know I hurt you, and I'm so sorry for that. But I wanted you to understand that it wasn't about not loving you or Lily. It was about being terrified of loving you both too much and still not being enough." Mark thought about all the times he'd felt inadequate as a parent, all the nights he'd lain awake wondering if he was making the right decisions for his daughter. "I understand that feeling better than you know." Emma wiped away a tear. "There's something else I need to tell you. Something I realized during therapy." Mark tensed, preparing himself. "I want to try again," she said. "Not immediately. I need time to work on myself first. But if you're willing to be patient, if you think there's still a chance for us, I want to do things differently. I want to be honest about my fears instead of running from them. Mark hadn't expected this. He'd come to the park prepared for a final goodbye, not a request for a second chance. What about Lily? I can't keep bringing people into her life who might leave. I know, Emma said. And I wouldn't ask if I wasn't serious about doing the work to be someone you can both count on. But I understand if you need to protect her, and yourself. Mark thought about the past few days, how empty their lives had felt without Emma. How Lily had asked about her every night. How he'd missed the sound of Emma's laugh, the way she always remembered the small details of their days, the gentle way she'd become part of their world. What would this look like? He asked cautiously. Taking things slowly, I mean. I'd like to keep seeing my therapist regularly, Emma said. And maybe we could start with just you and me spending time together again, rebuilding trust before I see Lily. I don't want to confuse her. It was a reasonable request, one that showed Emma was thinking about Lily's well-being. Mark felt something shift inside him, not forgiveness yet, but the possibility of it. I can't promise anything, he said honestly. But I'm willing to try. Emma nodded, relief visible on her face. That's all I'm asking for. A chance to show you that I can be brave enough to stay, even when it's scary. As they walked back toward Mark's apartment, keeping a careful distance between them, Mark realized something important. He'd always thought that love was about finding someone who would never leave. But maybe real love was about finding someone who, even after leaving, was courageous enough to come back and face the hard work of building something that would last. The next few weeks were a delicate dance of rebuilding. Mark and Emma met for coffee, for walks, for quiet dinners where they talked more honestly than they ever had before. Emma shared stories from her therapy sessions, insights about her fears of abandonment and how they manifested in her relationships. Mark opened up about his own insecurities as a parent and partner. Lily asked about Emma often, and Mark was truthful in an age-appropriate way. Emma is taking some time to take care of herself right now, he explained. Sometimes grown-ups need to do that. Is she sick? Lily asked, concern in her young eyes. Not exactly, Mark said. Sometimes our hearts and minds need care just like our bodies do. Lily seemed to accept this explanation, though she still included Emma in her nightly prayers, asking that she feel better soon. A month into their cautious reconciliation, Emma suggested they meet with a family therapist together. I want us to have the tools to communicate better, she explained. Especially when it comes to including Lily in our relationship again. Mark agreed, impressed by Emma's commitment to doing things right this time. The therapist, Dr. Rivera, helped them navigate difficult conversations about expectations, boundaries, and fears. She also provided guidance on how to reintroduce Emma into Lily's life in a way that would be healthy for everyone. Children are remarkably perceptive, Dr. Rivera told them. Lily will be watching how you both handle challenges. The goal isn't to shield her from all difficulty, but to show her that problems can be worked through with honesty and respect. After 6 weeks of therapy, both individual and as a couple, Emma and Mark felt ready for her to see Lily again. They planned a casual afternoon at the park, nothing that would overwhelm Lily or create too many expectations. When Lily spotted Emma waiting by the swings, her face lit up with pure joy. She ran ahead of Mark, throwing her arms around Emma's waist. You're back. Dad said you were taking care of your heart and mind. Are they all better now? Emma knelt down to Lily's level, her eyes glistening. I'm working on it, sweetheart. Some days are better than others, but I'm trying very hard. My dad says trying is the most important part, Lily said solemnly. Even when things are hard. Emma glanced up at Mark, who had caught up to them. Your dad is a very wise man. The afternoon was filled with simple pleasures, pushing Lily on the swings, sharing ice cream cones, listening to Lily's elaborate stories about school and friends. There were moments of awkwardness, brief pauses where none of them were quite sure what came next, but there was also laughter and a tentative sense of possibility. As the weeks turned into months, Emma became a more consistent presence in their lives again, though with new boundaries and clearer communication. She was honest with Lily in ways appropriate for a 7-year-old, explaining that sometimes she needed quiet days by herself, and that it wasn't because she didn't care about Lily and her dad. Mark watched with growing admiration as Emma kept her promises, showing up even on days when he could tell she was struggling. She never again disappeared without explanation, never again left them wondering where they stood. One evening, nearly 6 months after that middle-of-the-night text that had almost ended everything, Mark and Emma sat on his balcony after Lily had gone to bed. The spring air was warm, carrying the scent of the potted herbs Emma had helped Lily plant. "I have something to ask you," Emma said, her voice steady despite the nervousness Mark could see in her eyes. "Okay," he said, setting down his glass of wine. "I've been looking at apartments, since my lease is up next month," she began. "And I found one that's just a few blocks from here. It would make it easier for us to spend time together, but still give me the space I sometimes need." Mark nodded, understanding the careful balance she was trying to strike. "But before I sign anything," Emma continued, "I wanted to ask how you'd feel about me becoming a more permanent part of your lives. Not moving in, I don't think any of us are ready for that, but committing to building a future together, whatever that might look like." Mark thought about the journey they'd been on, the pain of that near ending, the hard work of rebuilding, the joy of watching Emma and Lily form their own unique bond. He thought about how Emma had faced her fears instead of being defined by them, how she'd shown Lily what courage looked like in real life. "I would like that very much," he said, reaching for her hand. "And I think Lily would too." Emma's smile was radiant. "I can't promise I'll never be scared again," she said. "But I can promise I won't run away from the fear. I'll talk to you instead." "That's all anyone can ask for," Mark said. "That's all I need to know." Later that night, after Emma had gone home to her current apartment, Mark checked on Lily before going to bed himself. His daughter was sleeping peacefully, her favorite stuffed elephant tucked under her arm and a book Emma had given her on the nightstand. Mark thought about how close he'd come to closing the door on Emma permanently, how easy it would have been to protect himself from further hurt by refusing her second chance. He was grateful now for the courage it had taken both of them to try again, to believe that something broken could be rebuilt into something stronger. As he turned out Lily's light, Mark realized that the most important lesson in all of this wasn't about finding someone who would never leave. It was about finding someone who, when faced with the choice between fear and love, would choose love every time, even when it was the harder path. 1 year to the day after Emma's late-night text, Mark took her back to the park bench where they'd had their reconciliation conversation. Lily was having a sleepover at a friend's house, giving them a rare evening alone. "Do you know what today is?" he asked as they sat down. Emma nodded, her expression solemn. "I've been thinking about it all day. About how close I came to losing you both." "I've been thinking about something else," Mark said. "About how that text, as painful as it was, led us here. To a relationship that's more honest and probably stronger than it would have been otherwise." "Do you really believe that?" Emma asked. "I do," Mark said. "We needed that crisis to understand what was at stake, to learn how to communicate better, to figure out what we really wanted." Emma leaned her head against his shoulder. "I'm still sorry I hurt you." "I know," Mark said. "But I'm not sorry we went through it. Not anymore." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. "Which is why I wanted to give you this today." Emma's eyes widened as Mark opened the box. Inside wasn't a ring, as she might have expected, but a key attached to a small silver pendant shaped like a house. "It's not what you think," Mark said quickly, seeing her expression. "It's not a proposal, not yet. I know neither of us is ready for that step." "Then what is it?" Emma asked, touching the pendant gently. "It's a key to our home," Mark explained. Not for you to move in, but so you always know you have a place with us, even on the days when you need your own space. So you never have to feel locked out, literally or figuratively. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Mark, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, he replied. Just keep doing what you've been doing, showing up, being honest, loving us in the way that you can. Emma took the key and pendant from the box, slipping the chain around her neck. I will, she promised. Every day. As they walked home hand in hand, Mark reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. There had been no dramatic rescue, no knight in shining armor catching a damsel in distress. Instead, there had been two imperfect people learning to catch each other, over and over again, through the ordinary challenges of daily life. 6 months later, Emma did move in with them, after many family discussions and therapy sessions to ensure they were all ready. The transition wasn't without its challenges, Lily testing boundaries, Emma learning to navigate the role of not-quite stepmother, Mark balancing everyone's needs including his own. But the foundation they had built was strong enough to weather these adjustments. Emma's panic attacks became less frequent, though they never disappeared entirely. When they happened, she no longer hid them or ran away. Instead, she used the coping strategies she'd learned in therapy, and she allowed Mark to support her through the worst moments. Lily, now 8, developed a special ritual with Emma for difficult days. They would sit together in the window seat of Lily's bedroom, looking out at the sky, and take turns naming things they were grateful for, no matter how small. I'm grateful for puddle-jumping boots, Lily might say. I'm grateful for the way the light comes through these curtains in the morning, Emma would reply. On Lily's 9th birthday, 2 years after that fateful text message, she made an announcement during her party. I have the best family, she told her friends proudly. My dad, who's always been there, and Emma, who went away but came back even stronger. Later, when the guests had gone home and Lily was playing with her new gifts, Emma found Mark in the kitchen cleaning up. Did you hear what Lily said today? She asked, her voice thick with emotion. About me going away but coming back stronger? Mark nodded, setting down the plate he was rinsing. She sees you, Emma. The real you. Not just the mistakes you've made, but the courage it took to fix them. That's all I've ever wanted, Emma said. For both of you to see me, all of me, and still want me to stay. We do, Mark said simply. We always will. That night, after Lily was asleep, Mark and Emma sat on the balcony where they often ended their days together. The herb garden had expanded to include vegetables and flowers, a collaborative project that had become a metaphor for their relationship, something that required constant attention but yielded beautiful results. I've been thinking, Emma said, looking out at the city lights. About that night I texted you. About how close I came to missing all of this. Mark waited, giving her the space to continue. I was so convinced that leaving was the only way to protect you both from my inadequacies, she said. I couldn't see that staying, working through the hard parts together, was actually the braver choice. It was, Mark agreed. And you've made that choice every day since. Emma turned to face him. I want to keep making it. For the rest of my life, if you'll let me. Mark's heart quickened. What are you saying? Emma reached into her pocket and pulled out a small velvet box, similar to the one he had given her a year before. I'm saying that I'm ready now, if you are. Ready to make this official, to be a family in every way. She opened the box to reveal 2 simple bands. I'm not asking you to answer right now, she said. I know this is something we should discuss with Lily, with Dr. Rivera. But I wanted you to know where my heart is. Mark looked at the rings, then at the woman who had taught him that love wasn't about perfection but about persistence. About choosing each other, day after day, even when it was difficult. Especially when it was difficult. My heart is with you, he said. It has been since the moment you came back. 3 months later, they were married in a small ceremony in the park where they had begun their reconciliation. Lily served as both flower girl and ring bearer, proudly carrying the rings Emma had chosen on a small pillow she had decorated herself. During the ceremony, Emma surprised both Mark and Lily by including a special set of vows just for her soon-to-be stepdaughter. "Lily," she said, kneeling down to the child's level, "I promise to love your dad with all my heart. But I also promise to love you as you deserve to be loved, completely, consistently, and courageously. I promise to be honest with you, even when it's hard. To support you as you grow into the amazing person you're already becoming. And to show you, through my actions more than my words, that love means staying even when it would be easier to go." Lily, dressed in a pale yellow dress that matched the wildflowers in Emma's bouquet, threw her arms around Emma's neck. "I love you," she whispered. "I'm glad you came back." "Me too, sweetheart," Emma whispered back. "It's the best decision I ever made." As they exchanged their formal vows, Mark thought about the text message that had nearly ended everything. 5 simple words that had seemed like an ending but had actually been the beginning of something far more meaningful than what came before. Life wasn't a fairy tale. There would be more challenges ahead, more panic attacks for Emma to work through, more parenting dilemmas for Mark to navigate, more adjustments for Lily as she grew. But they would face these challenges together, with the hard-won knowledge that true love wasn't about avoiding the difficult moments but about how you handled them when they inevitably came. As they walked back down the aisle as a newly official family, Mark caught Emma's eye and saw in it the same certainty he felt in his own heart. They had caught each other when it mattered most, not in a dramatic rescue, but in the quiet, consistent choice to stay, to work through the hard parts, to believe that what they were building together was worth the effort. And in that moment, surrounded by the people they loved, Mark knew with absolute certainty that Emma's reply, not the text that had almost ended everything, but her courage in coming back, in doing the work, in choosing love over fear, had indeed changed everything. For anyone watching this who has ever walked away from something important out of fear, or who has been walked away from, remember this: sometimes the bravest thing isn't never making mistakes. Sometimes the bravest thing is coming back after you've made them, doing the hard work of repair, and building something stronger than what existed before. If you found meaning in Mark and Emma's journey, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories that remind us of the power of second chances and the courage it takes to truly love someone, not just in the easy moments, but in the challenging ones that ultimately define us. Because in the end, it's not about finding someone who will never leave. It's about finding someone who, even if they stumble, will always find their way back to you. Someone who chooses you, again and again, even when, especially when, it would be easier not to. That's the kind of love worth waiting for. That's the kind of love Mark and Emma found, not in spite of their struggles, but because of them.